Hello everyone, I am the Basement Dweeb, you can call me Nova, and today we will be talking about my journey with Fruits Basket. Real quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment down below, ring the bell, set notifications to all, share it on Twitter, and tag me at the Basement Dweeb, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so, Fruits Basket. As those of you who have followed my channel know, I used to do weekly episodes, episode video, review things, as the episodes came out for Fruits Basket the final. I dropped off doing that because I found I couldn't enjoy the episode as much. And when that happened, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of not do this anymore because I'm not enjoying it. So I didn't like having to analyze everything that happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. And then I'm like, oh man, I have to like overanalyze everything. I can't just like live in the moment anymore with it. So I just kind of dropped off doing it. But anyway, but to suffice it to say, those last 4 or 5 episodes, all S tier, all perfect episodes. I love them all. So we're just going to kind of leave it at that. But anyway, the final episode is called See You Again Soon. And I did hate that because I'm like, it's the last episode. Why would you call it See You Again Soon? Do you not realize it's going to like make our pain worse? Like, why would you do this to us? Natsuki, Takaya, why would you do this to us? I don't understand. But, even with that said, the final season was absolutely wonderful. I do have my gripes. There are a couple scenes where I'm like, you know, well, no. If I'm being real with you, there's only 2 things that I'm like, you know what? I kind of wish they put this in there. I read the manga, like, for basically the entire, like, last arc of the show. Like, I read that entire bit from the manga, and they got pretty much all the important stuff. There's only 2 things that they didn't put in that I'm like, I kind of wish they put this in. Manga, spoilers if you're not reading the manga, but they're not really big, and I mean, the story's over, so whatever. They don't play that bit again because they were cut out, and they don't play a super important role in the story. They just were fun bits that I'm like, I kind of wish they put these in. So, number 1, again, yeah, spoilers for the manga if you're going to read the manga, but, number 1, so, they didn't talk about Kakeru and his girlfriend and her their connection to Toru. So, Kakeru's girlfriend's dad was in the car that hit, Kyoko, and that guy, the driver, died too. He died in the car crash, so Kakeru, the reason, you know, in that one episode Kakeru was kind of watching Toru and Kyo is because he was thinking about that, because he resented Toru for a really long time for acting, you know, sad and stuff because his girlfriend lost someone really important to her. And so he kind of resented her, and him and Toru kind of had this moment, and I felt like it added a really interesting depth to Kakeru's character that they kind of didn't have in this. And I mean, they didn't really have a ton of time. They still fleshed out Kakeru's character fine, but it's still one of those things where I'm like, I kind of wish they put this in, but like I kind of understand why it was cut, but it still would have been nice to see it. The other thing is, and this scene is slightly less important than like the Kakeru stuff. So this is a Yuchi scene, Machi and Yuki scene that happened where Yuki and Machi go to visit Ayame and Mine in their dress shop. And they kind of have just this moment, and Yuki introduces Machi to Ayame and Mine, and they just kind of go and hang out. And I'm not exactly sure at what point this happens. I just remember that it happened, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad they didn't put this in there. But, yeah, it was just a cute moment, a cute bonding moment. They kind of talked about, Yuki kind of asked Ayame about, you know, his relationship with Mine and all that kind of stuff. But it's it wasn't super important to the plot. I'm like, it kind of would have been nice to see that. You know, it would have been fun and all that. But, you know, other than those 2 bits, I have no complaints. As a manga reader, I'm like, you know what? Final season? Pretty damn near perfect. Like a 9.9. Like, the 2 scenes that I would have liked to have seen, they knock like a 1/10 of a point off. But, like, it's a 9.9 out of 10. It's still S tier, even though it's not a perfect 10, but the final season was absolutely, absolutely stunning. Anyway, so with all my kind of general thoughts on the final season out of the way, my journey with Fruits Basket starts in like early 2018, back when I was like just getting into anime and I wasn't really into manga at the time, but I was like just getting into anime. And it was one of the things where I'm like, I hadn't really read manga, but I'm like, I'd seen manga around, and I'm like, oh, it's like connected to anime. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll take a look and see kind of what I can find, right? And I remember, because I would go to the library a lot to do homework and stuff, and my mom would sometimes go book shopping, and she'd take me with her, right? And so sometimes when I was, at the library and I was bored from doing homework, or I was with my mom and she was kind of looking at her books, if, they had a manga section, I would kind of peruse the manga section, see if they had anything that looked interesting. And I remember distinctly, I was at the library. I was taking a break from doing homework. I wanted to stretch my legs. So I was kind of just perusing the manga section. And I pulled out volume 22 of Fruits Basket. 22! So as you can imagine, the first chapter I opened to was the moment when Kyo is confronting his dad. That was my first ever thing that I read for Fruits Basket. And I was just like, what on earth is going on? Like, why do these people hate each other? I am so confused right now. And I'm like, I kind of want to read, there wasn't, volume 1 wasn't there. And I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to read the rest of it and see what happens. Because I'm very, very, very lost right now. And, fast forward a few months, probably middle of the year in 2018, I found volume 1 at a bookstore and I started reading it and I'm like, oh, this is really cute. And I remember shipping, being like, Yugi, oh my gosh, he's perfect. Like, they're going to be together. And then, looking back, I'm like, oh, how wrong you were. Anyway, but so I read most of volume 1, but then we had to go and I didn't have money because I didn't have a job at that time, which was frustrating. And my mom wouldn't buy it for me because she isn't a huge fan of the anime and manga. And I respect it, but I was still frustrated. And so I kind of just spaced on it for a while because I just did, because my brain just forgets things sometimes if I'm not doing it right in front of me, which is how I forget to finish shows a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the show. And then my attention span is short, so I, watch it. It's weird. My attention span for shows is like 20 episodes, and then I kind of like, okay, I want to go watch something else. And then my brain, because the thing's not right in front of me, my brain's just like, that's not there anymore, so I just completely forget to finish things. So I didn't look at Fruits Basket for a long time because I didn't have a computer at the time either, I don't think. Or if I did, I didn't really use it very much. So I just forgot about Fruits Basket for a while. And lo and behold, December, late in the year, I was kind of looking around and I'm like, there's an anime for it? What? Because I didn't know there was an anime for it. And so I went and the old, 2002 anime, because this is 2018 before the remake was even announced. So late in the year, fall, I think October, November of 2018, I watched the old 2002 one and I loved that shit. I was just like, yes, it's so cute and funny and sweet and I love it and I want more. And I remember, because I'm like, this is really old, so there's not going to make any more. And I remember I finished the final episode of season 1 of the remake around Christmas Eve or New Year's, I think, of 2018, right? And so I just was like, oh no, it's so old, they're never gonna make any more, I'm so sad, I'm gonna have to go read the manga. And I'm like, I'll read the manga, but I prefer anime, and I still prefer anime. I love manga, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, if I can watch a living, moving, with sound and color version, I'm gonna pick that, because I'm a sensory person, and I'm like, I like the movement. But anyway, so I finish it, right? December, end of the year, New Year's 2018 into 2019. Not 2 weeks after I finished it, they were like, hey, we're remaking Fruits Basket. And I was just like, what? You're what? And I kid you not, when I saw the announcement, I screamed at my phone. I was so happy because I was like, oh, they're remaking it. I was like, I was really lucky because I cannot imagine the legions of fans who grew up with Fruits Basket, who grew up with the 2002, who waited 10 years for this remake, where I was really lucky. I only had to wait 2 weeks, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're making more. And so, 4 months, April comes, they make the remake. I'm like, and here's the whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'd seen everything. But there were still moments where I'm like, this still hit me. Even though I'd seen the 2002, even though, I knew what was coming a lot of the time, it still ripped my heart out because Fruits Basket is amazing like that. But anyway, I just, I watched season 1 and I loved it. And somewhere in between seasons 1 and 2, my brain decided, saw the collector's editions, because I was at the library again doing homework, and I saw the collector's editions of the manga. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna read volume 7 of the collector's editions, and then 10, 11, 12 of the collector's editions before season 2 even comes out. So, late 2019, that's what I was doing. Late 2019, I was reading volume 7, and then volumes... Yeah, because it was November of 2019 that I read volume 7, and then it was, early 2020 when I was reading, 10, 11, 12, and I finished all those up. And don't get me wrong, I loved them, but I didn't know anything about, what happened in, the middle of that whole thing. So, season 2 was just, basically up until, the part when, Momo wants Momiji to be her brother. Basically, everything in season 2 up to that point was just completely unknown territory for me. And I was very happy about that because it meant that I could experience all of it and it was new. I didn't know anything about the beach arc. That was complete, just stuff I didn't know. And I was very happy about that. But yeah, I knew basically everything that happened in the final season. And even so, it still ripped my heart out with, the I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. It ripped my heart out. We'll just go with that. But regardless, Fruits Basket. I just love it so much. And the remake is just, it's the perfect remake. It's on, as far as remakes go, it's on par with, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Fruits Basket are the king of remakes. That is what it's if someone remakes a series, this is what I expect. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Fruits Basket, the remake, set the bar very, very high for remakes. And I mean, granted, anime don't get remade hardly ever because there's just usually not a call for it. But, with stuff like Fruits Basket, with stuff like, Full Metal Alchemist, it makes sense. Because, those were very popular shows, very popular. I mean, at one point, Fruits Basket, the final, was actually above Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood on Mal, which is just wild to me. But, yeah, I think it's currently at, number 4, which is just insane. It's that popular among people, so. I mean, true, the Mal system is kind of flawed because only not as many people ranked it. But still, it's ranked really high, all things considered. And I'm just you know what? I'm glad it's very popular. I loved it. 10 out of 10 would watch again. One of these days I'm gonna do sorry, I had too much caffeine today. I'm kind of out there. But one of these days I'm gonna do a binge. I'm gonna binge every episode of Fruits Basket end to end, and it's gonna be a good time. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. My journey with Fruits Basket has been an interesting one. Oh, I forgot something. So the bit when in the show, in the Fruits Basket, the final, when Kyo was going to confront his dad, I was very confused. I'm like, what's going on? Where's he going? And then I saw him open the door, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that first bit that I ever saw. I was waiting 3 years, literal years for this to be animated. Oh my gosh, what the hell? I'd completely forgotten about that bit, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this was my first interaction with Fruits Basket, and it finally got animated, and it hit me really hard. I'm just like, oh my gosh, wow, it's all come full circle. But yeah, if you haven't seen Fruits Basket, the remake at this point, go fucking watch it. If you like shoujo, you will love Fruits Basket, I promise. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Fruits Basket is a 10 out of 10 anime. I love it a lot. It's really good. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Ring the bell, set notifications to all. Support me on Patreon. Follow me on Twitter. Tag me in videos. If you like my stuff, share it and tag me and all that good stuff. Might give you a shout out if you do. I still don't have a proper outro. See you in the next one. Bye.